It's always nice when life gives you the chance to go back to doing something that you absolutely love, as well as an opportunity to complete some unfinished business. I find myself in that very situation as I recently went through a job change, and to celebrate that new job, I'm going to go ahead and complete that unfinished business, heading back to jolly old England. I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. The next international adventure would come a lot sooner than expected, as the opportunity came with a major life change and a desire to experience a beloved coaster before it closed permanently. We'll get into how this trip came to be, then hop on the flight across the Atlantic for this English coaster expedition. It wasn't much of a secret to many friends and family that I really struggled with my time at community transit, as their scheduling was pretty brutal for those who actually wanted to have a life outside of work, and the job was more challenging than some might think. When I realized that this wasn't something I wanted to do long term, I had a bit of an epiphany just before joining the Buzz Bars in Europe, which led to a virtual information session with the Digital Media Arts Program Director at Bellevue College. This led to my decision to pursue the Digital Media Arts degree with a certification in video production. I've been dabbling in video here and there for a very long time, but really got into it with the creation of this channel, and a huge influence in choosing this path came from the positive feedback that many of you have given, as well as the support of friends and family. So I really want to take this opportunity to say thank you for the motivation to seek this more formal training and improve my video creation skills to try and make an actual career of it. The original plan was to work my way through the classes one at a time while continuing to work at community transit as long as possible, taking advantage of online courses because of the fluctuation of my work schedule. Then when it wouldn't work out anymore, I'd depart from the company to finish the rest of the classes needed. Well, even the first online class I took showed how difficult it could be to coordinate with others for group assignments, and knowing that a lot of the classes I'd be taking would involve such group work, I found that in-person classes would be better going forward, but the class schedules would often conflict with those of work, and special accommodations weren't really an option. So in early October, I submitted my resignation to community transit and made a return to Tours Northwest as a tour guide. I've always enjoyed this position, getting to share my home area with visitors from all over between our city and Mount Rainier tours, while also having a much more flexible schedule, which made a lot of my earlier travel experiences shared on this channel possible. That flexibility will be key in allowing me to take the classes I need as I pursue this new path. Now at this point you might be thinking to yourself, this whole life change thing is nice and everything, Gary, but what does this have to do with going to England? Well, after departing from community transit, I had a bit of time between my last day and the quick trip to Texas for El Stumble 2 in the beginning of November, so my first tours would come shortly after that event, giving me a gap of about a week and a half. At first I thought I used that time to readjust to the kind of scheduling I was used to for the tour work before the pandemic, but there was something that gave me a bit of urgency to go experience a certain ride. A bit earlier in the year, Alton Towers had begun a campaign regarding the impending closure of their famed inverted coaster, Nemesis, which was one of the many coasters in England I had not yet ridden, as my one day in London, after Philip and I went to Oktoberfest, was my only experience visiting the United Kingdom, so I had a lot more that I wanted to do there, and that coaster was definitely one of my bucket list rides. In the fall of 2019, I did begin plotting out a multi-week trip to the United Kingdom that was going to be in October of 2020. But for some obvious reasons, that plan never came to be. But since I had a week that was open, and a bucket list ride that I really wanted to experience, the only barrier keeping me from doing so was the cost. But that was easily solved thanks to my favorite locally based airline. Technically, I'm not flying with Alaska Airlines today. However, I am using the Alaska Miles that I've been stashing for a while to make this trip happen because of a sweet redemption spot to get over to London. It turned out I was able to get to London for less miles than what some airlines charge for a one-way domestic flight these days. So with a great deal on airfare and a return to more flexible scheduling, I put together a one-week trip to ride some highly anticipated coasters of England, combined with some cultural experiences along the way. While American Airlines does offer a direct flight between Seattle and London, I'd have to make my way to Chicago first due to the availability of seats using Alaska Miles, but I get to take advantage of that flight for coming back home. Since I had a bit of a longer layover upon landing in the Windy City, I tried to figure out how I might spend that time before hopping on that flight across the Atlantic. And one idea came to mind as I saw a carnival in a ballpark parking lot, but found out they didn't have a coaster when I looked it up online. Another idea came about when I saw that the Seattle Kraken were in Chicago to play the Blackhawks that day for an afternoon game. But the timing would be tight depending on how long the game took, and I really didn't want to miss my connection, so I just stuck around the airport. I did get a chance to grab lunch at a Chicago Cubs themed restaurant and decided to try their ribeye steak sandwich. I have to admit though, it was probably about as disappointing as the Cubs were for several seasons before they finally won the World Series in 2016. After walking around a bit and taking care of a few last minute things online, it was time to hop aboard the flight to London. I have to admit that after flying business class to Paris earlier in the year, it was a bit of a bummer to be back in economy, although the flight was pretty light on passengers, so I was able to have a row to myself, meaning I could take advantage of the space for a more comfortable flight. As we flew above Michigan, we got our in-flight meal, which was about the usual airplane fare, although I did appreciate getting the complimentary beer, and then it was time to hunker down for a little entertainment, choosing a show that felt appropriate to watch given the destination of the flight. And after taking in the new Top Gun movie, it was time to stretch out and try to get some shut-eye. With our arrival into London being early in the morning, it made it possible to get to the first part of the trip before opening time, so I booked a rental car to pick up as soon as I arrived. But to make it work for the trip, I'd have to make a slight adjustment.
Oh. That's awkward.
Thank you for watching this Coasting with Culture video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button below to see future videos here on YouTube like these ones, which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.